This episode is sponsored by Equine LTS. Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of The Stable Hour. I'm your host Eva Cappelen, and today I'm so excited, you guys, because we are going to sit down with someone who have achieved extraordinary thing in our sport. But we're not only going to speak about the amazing results, because I think when we look at the top riders from the outside, we see the medals, we see the wins, we see those epic rounds, but sometimes they can be a bit distant and we can't always connect and relate to them. So I want to really understand, how did they actually get there? Who are they as people? And what does their everyday look like? And what do they actually think about the work, the horses, and our industry and sport? So today we're going to dive a little bit deeper and hopefully find something that we can relate to and reflect over, and some inspiration and insights that we can bring along in our own journeys with our horses. Because today we are joined by the first woman ever to win an individual Olympic gold medal in eventing, Julia Krajewski. Welcome to the Stable Hour.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, so exciting. How are you today?
I'm good. I mean, we're in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
It's very rare for me to just take a day off and hop on a plane, go somewhere.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to take a day off, basically.
Exactly.
And it's cool to be here.
Yeah. Julia, I wanted to start a little bit more on the human side of things. For the people that don't know who you are, who is Julia?
Julia Krajewski. I'm from Germany. I'm an event rider. My family has nothing to do with horses, and somehow I ended up becoming a professional horse rider who won, as you mentioned, Olympic individual gold and some other things along the way. And now I part-time live in Rome and part-time in Germany with usually about 12 horses.
Before we get into your story, because you have a very interesting story. As you mentioned, you don't have family that does horses. But now you have 12 horses. It's your full-time job. This is your profession.
Yeah, double full-time probably, if you count the hours.
seven days a week plus.
Basically, yes. But it's fine. I love it.
Yeah.
Usually, most days I love it, especially since it's not as cold in winter in Italy compared to Germany.
No, that helps, right?
A lot.
Yeah. You have won Olympic gold. You're world champion for team. Individual silver.
Yeah.
You are serial German champion.
I think 4 times. No? I think 4 times.
Yeah. I thought it was I thought I read 5.
And the bronze.
And the bronze.
Maybe looks almost the same. But I had a pole, so it was bronze.
But how did it start? How did you get into doing horses in the beginning?
Actually, it's many coincidences, because really the paths wasn't set at all. My father was a geophysicist, and my mother was as well. Then she had 3 children, and then she learned to become a veterinary assistant. And the company where my father was employed moved in 1994. I believe, or 3, when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a rural area, and my parents bought an old pig farm, and it transformed, I would rather say they made it useful for keeping horses on a basic level. My mother had a good friend who was in eventing and would guide us along a bit. But looking back, there wasn't anyone who had really a clue. So it was a lot self-taught. And then there were some things building up. I was actually a dressage coach in our region, where we then became part of that riding club, which was maybe not a clear way to eventing, but he said, he was the first one to say, okay, you have talent, like me. You have talent. You need a better pony. You could get somewhere if you have a better pony. And then we bought a 4-year-old pony stallion, because we didn't have the money to buy something ready-made. So it was either old or young. And my mother said, well, if you buy something old, then it's too old soon. So we buy something young.
Yeah.
Didn't think that a 4-year-old stallion for 8-year-old girl maybe is borderline tricky. But it was the first pony, you know, we always had to get things somehow working. Like there was just no chance to say, I don't want that pony anymore, get me another one. If you don't want that pony anymore, then it has to be decent enough to sell it or something, because we can't just buy a new one.
No.
And anyway, he, I mean, it was a bit typical. Like he had some quality. Then I got invited to regional trainings. People said, okay, it's all a bit wild. The girl is small. The horse is a bit crazy, but they could get somewhere. And then we have a nice system in Germany where I have the feeling once you're sort of in it with one foot, there's always somewhere the next step or the next regional coach or training or whatever, which sort of pushes you on the next step.
To the next level. Which age are you in here? Because you started 8 and 4, you and the pony.
9, 10. Like I did young horse championship, like national young horse championship with the pony when I was, I think, 9 years old.
Okay, and the Europeans?
12.
You were 12. And
I think I was 12. And the pony was 7.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, it was a big adventure. Like I was in Spain, and if I look at the pictures from back then, I was all red. And I somehow managed to win this pony Europeans. But as you do things, like you just do them, you didn't think about it too much.
No. The expectation was not gold.
No, I don't think there was any expectation. Like we didn't have anything. We went there as a group thinking that's going to be cool. We're going to Spain. I mean, wow, we're going on a plane. I think I've never flown anywhere before. So I thought it was very exciting.
Yeah, everything was exciting.
And then I won. And then I was a bit like, oh, cool, you go to a championship and you win. Easy. Which obviously it wasn't. And it actually took until Tokyo to win another individual title. So I won several silvers and often it didn't work and all of that. But like to win actually individual gold then does take something. And if it's only luck in the right moment. But
winning gold in the Europeans as ponies, that's the biggest you ride as ponies.
There are no world championships.
And from a show jumping perspective, like the Europeans for ponies, juniors, young riders,
they're very big.
It's big. It's huge.
But eventually, obviously, we don't jump as high. But we
But I went actually to the Europeans. Where was that? I think it was in Ireland a couple of years. I was with a student, and they were show jumping, eventing, and dressage together.
Yeah.
And I was there, and I was watching the eventing, and it's one of the first time I actually live watched eventing. And I was so impressed by these ponies. Like
it's crazy.
It's insane.
They jump like what the ponies jump related to their height is quite something. And I mean, some years ago I had to sit on a student's pony, and I thought like, my God, I feel the jumps are really high on this pony. It's like I stick to my horses.
Yeah. Wow. In terms of, you mentioned that you got into like in Germany that you have a kind of setup for talented riders, like you mentioned. Talk a little bit about that and what did that bring actually into the next level of, or in the start of your career?
They love to bring me as the example because I literally took every step along the way. I went to every championship. I did ponies, juniors, young riders.
Yeah.
I then after school they asked me if I want to come to Warndorf and joined something called Perspective Group, where they would ask like promising juniors, more like young riders, helpful if you're 18, to move there to like get help and support to become a professional. At first I didn't want to go because the idea of becoming a professional was very scary to me. Because
why?
But I didn't know a lot about horse professionals, but what I knew was that it's a lot of work and it's risky and it's not just happening by itself, because the professionals I saw on the show, they seem to be working a lot.
Was this the aspect of your early career that actually changed into you becoming a professional?
But I think the first time that I ever had to take a conscious decision that now I am a professional was when then after many years I became self-employed. Yeah. I never said I want to be a professional. No. It just happened. Yeah. It sort of made sense. Then I had a good time. Then I had some good horses. Then I was good at what I was doing. And I also always wanted to be good in sports. Early on, I wrote in some friends' book that I want to be Olympic champion and world champion. I was 10 there.
Here we go. So early affirmations, you guys. Just
There's a word for like you can manifested it. Maybe.
Exactly. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
So you manifested this earlier.
I manifested that earlier. Only had to find the road to it. No, it's a good, and then I also was part of the sports squad, like part of the army.
Yeah.
Where you earn a little bit more money, which is, I mean, having a job is, now I'm self-employed. I mean, it's quite a good thing. You like health insurance, all of that is sorted. You don't have to worry about that. And I would always like give the advice to a young person or question, if you can be employed somewhere, do it. Don't go self-employed straight away.
No.
It's really not easy, and the taxes will kill you soon if you don't have that on your radar. As long as you're employed, you're safe, and then you can see what you do alongside.
Exactly. And I think like especially in these times, like being an entrepreneur and being self-employed is almost like you can choose your own hours. No, you don't.
No, you don't. You just work all the time.
Yeah, you work all the time, except maybe when you sleep. But that's how it is to be, and especially when you're doing horses.
And then if you have an accident, if you get sick, I mean,
you don't have any safety.
No, you don't, especially not early on. And then you say you have to put money on the side, which.
Would you actually recommend people to have a normal job and rather start with horses on the side than maybe going all in early?
If I'm being honest, yes. If you have some sort of support system, wealthy family, very good sponsor, someone who says, don't worry, I want you to earn your own money, but if there's something, I can take care of it. Then it's maybe a different thing.
Yeah.
But if you really have to fend it for yourself, I think you also have to be very lucky that things work out in a way that you also don't lose your brain doing it. Like we do have enough people who struggle mentally for reasons. I mean, it's it's a great job to do, but unfortunately it doesn't stop with it. It doesn't stop with just riding horses. There's so much more to come after, which you learn dealing with. And the amount of fees you have to pay, like their letters sometimes, they didn't even know that exists, but still they want 2K from me. I'm like, how? Yeah. But I think that was a clever thing I did. I didn't jump in it straight away.
No.
I mean, as I said, I was in the army. I worked in the National Federation office half day for 5 years, I think. Studied.
But it's also something that you showcase then, that you can actually go, if you want to create your own business with horses, you can do it also on a later stage. Like you can balance also being in your 20s. We always think we have so short with time. You guys enjoy it. And the beautiful thing about riding is that we can always actually get back. We are not retired on the age of 30 like other sports. We can always.
Absolutely. And I think that's why it's so important to create, once you go that way, try to create it in a way that it can last.
Yeah.
I mean, if we would do a sport where you have a 5-year peak, it's okay, all in.
Yeah.
There's nothing else left and right, do it, and then I worry about what I do after. But we can do it for 25, 30, 40 years. So if you find a system around it that works for that amount of time, even better. And then I was a national coach.
Yeah.
I mean, I used, like, while I was in the office, I would probably have like 6 horses alongside. I mean, it's still work, but it wasn't 12 horses. And I have to say, while I was in the federation and this perspective group, there is quite some support. So everything is at the same place.
Yeah.
You get a lot of lessons for free.
Yeah.
I calculated you can write lessons for about €3,000 per month.
Wow.
Which I'm very sure most of the current people don't know. I didn't know back then.
No.
It was just there. It was, it's just available. I want to write 3 horses here and 2 horses there and 4 horses there. You never write down and know this is the amount of lessons I get. But obviously it really brings you for, you don't have to drive for anything except galloping the horse on a hill. So it definitely provided me with the surroundings to grow in that sport. And maybe because there wasn't much background in my family where someone would say, well, this is the way we have to go, or this is the horses we need to have. It was a lot of try and error. There were also horses we bought and then it didn't work. And then, I don't know.
But at least
they
you
had
have
to go
a
again.
strong foundation, and like you say, people, you're surrounding with the right people and the opportunities to actually give you the room to fail and error in a much more safe environment, I can imagine. In terms of, we're talking about, becoming successful, that it's a lot of opportunities, luck, hard work, but what is maybe when you reflect about your success, what was the key ingredients to your success?
I think I always have this drive to be good or have things as good as they can be. Like some drive to perfection, maybe. Though I also learned to know that you can also let one slip sometimes. Like it doesn't always have to be bam, bam, bam. And it's not in every aspect of my life. Like some aspects I don't care really. But I always want to have things sorted. I want to have things good. I set goals and then I love to make the path, like plan things. And whenever I have a young horse, you get this vision, okay, this is where it could go. And maybe this way being 6 or 7 or 8. And then this constant thinking, is it maybe good enough? Or maybe we have to work on this or on that. Or you get to know the horse and the strengths and the weaknesses. I think I very much like to think and work on projects.
Yeah. Project-based thinking of your own. Is that also with your own riding though? Like where you can develop and where you should focus development? Or is it like a project as a whole, like towards a goal with the horse?
I would say obviously it's one. I see my life as a big project. I don't always know where the next chapter will be, but and then I have, I set a goal here, and then I'm very reflected. I think I try to be on my own riding. I know, okay, like now during winter I don't have mirrors.
Okay.
And I know once I get back to Germany where I need to work on this, on that, or position or the holes. While in winter I know I can work a bit more on this, on that aspect, and so I'm thinking a lot about everything.
Yeah.
And then another thing, I think I really like to reach my goals.
Yeah.
Usually when I set my sight on something, because I don't go for crazy goals. Like I would never say I want to bring Nickel, like that's my good horse, to badminton this year, because it would be a stupid goal. It doesn't suit him and it probably wouldn't work. But I like to have goals, and I love when they work out. Yeah. Like that's probably like strategic thinking, and then having a successful outcome. I love it. If then I win something, it's fine. But usually the goal is not necessarily winning it, but getting there.
Yeah.
So also doing well. Like when I say getting to a championship, I want to do well, but like within the capacities of the horse.
Yeah.
With one horse could be I want to be top 3, another horse just do generally well. Yeah.
You mentioned that your goal setting is a little bit more realistic in terms of compared to maybe dreams. If we define these things, you actually set realistic goals for the outcome of that horse. But of course, you had dreamed to become Olympic champion and world champion, and you became that. So would you say that is a difference between those two in your mind and in your work?
Yeah, I think if you dream as a 10 years old to become Olympic champion, it's at that moment probably not the most realistic goal. But
exactly,
like if it's something that sort of pulls you, and you think, you always think that direction, but the path is very wide. But you maybe do many serpentines and up and down and left and right, but you have an idea where you keep pushing. At some point, the dream maybe becomes a goal, which is a difference to me. I can dream a lot, and then sometimes at one day it becomes the goal for this year, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think one step at a time, that's really important.
Would you say that as an advice for people that want to aspire to become you?
I mean, dream big, but plan realistic, maybe. Because it also keeps you from the feeling of I failed all the time. Yeah. Of course, if you don't set your goal somewhere that you have to push for it, it's not a goal. I mean, then you can it's your everyday work. Yeah. But if you set your goals unrealistic all the time or too big, and you every time fail, it's also not motivating.
Then it's not a driver, right?
But it's somewhere in between. I mean, you have to then you have to be willing to push a lot. It will never happen on its own. Whatever.
Explain this again. Your season is starting.
Depends a bit where you are in Europe, but let's say beginning of March is the earliest. Probably more like mid-March. Yeah, mid-March.
And then you're done?
Mid-October. Depends a bit when each horse has his highlight, but somewhere in October. Mid-end, depends what you're doing.
And what are you doing in between the seasons?
Only holiday.
The beach.
Only the beach. No, I mean, the horses really have time off. Like, the traditional way from the UK would have been to take the shoes off and put them on the field for 8 weeks.
The top horses.
Yeah, all of them. It's not done like that everywhere, and I also don't think it's the best way for each horse. And not everyone has the amount of fields, and when you are somewhere where it actually freezes in December, then it's also borderline. But the general idea of the horses having, I would say, about 6 weeks of downtime, which means, depends on the horse, just being out 24/7 or all day, or be on the field and just go for a hack, is a very, I would say, pretty much everyone is doing it definitely at top level. Yeah. Also because we very much like think in highlights. Like usually a horse would have the first highlight around June. Maybe in May if they do an early 5-star, but May, June. And then the second highlight would be maybe a championship or another 5-star in September, or maybe a long format one in October. But you would have 2 highlights where you aim towards,
so like 2 goals, right?
2 goals.
2 main events that you are,
where you want your horse to be as fit as possible, as good as possible, all of that. And then you think, okay, what do I need to do before? How do I get my horse there? Because, I mean, you need a bit of match practice. They need to see some jump some lines. You can't practice that at home.
No.
It's just not possible. So you end up planning your season around that. And then with the good horses, let's say the championship horses, top level horses, they would then probably do 7 events per year, maybe
7
8.
shows.
Yeah,
7 shows, you guys, to support your way of project-based thinking as well, because it's kind of project-based seasons of like
always like every horse way to the highlight is its project. Like what do I have to do? How do I plan? Definitely.
Can you just take us through like a kind of normal week? Which areas do you focus on the training during a week?
Normal week, basically. Yeah. Horses would go, we say they go galloping, which means we go, when Germany we have a big grass hill, which the federation rents, which we use, where we gallop in intervals, like warm up, and then we gallop intervals uphill, also downhill, like basically fitness training for the horse. That would happen like every 5 to 6 days. With the younger horses once a week. As soon as they aim for something bigger, it's more like every 5 days.
Okay.
That's a very individual thing. Like if you ask me, give me a plan how to gallop my horse, I would need like a ton of information for you. Where, what horse, how steep is the hill, how's the ground, what did you do so far? Because everyone has a little bit their own philosophy.
Yeah.
Also depending on how close you live and what sort of gallop you have. So it's quite a thing. And we use like heart rate measurement devices. We take lactate. So I pretty well know where my horses should be heart rate wise, lactate wise. How long should I do the breaks between the intervals to, get them ideally into peak fitness. But also that's something I'm very specific about. I usually do the galloping myself, because while I gallop them uphill, downhill, all of that, I also teach them to balance themselves, to change the lead. If I feel they only want to gallop up the hill in left lead, maybe there's something wrong. Same with downhill. If you have a horse that always changes in disconnected canter going downhill, then he's not supple enough in the back. The day after galloping would usually be like an easy day. Field, walking, maybe hacking. Some horses are good to hack and walk, others are not. If they're not, then they just maybe go on the walker. And then I would probably, I would say jump them once a week in some sense. Either it's, I think, okay, going towards the next show, I need some cross-country schooling where I would have to drive somewhere. And then, like in winter, I would probably say they jump once a week. In summer, it's a bit, depends where they're going.
Show. Yeah.
And I think I would try to put the dressage saddle on twice.
Yeah. Twice a week.
Yeah. Maximum, I guess.
Really interesting, but I think that we have also so much to learn there, especially taking the horse out cantering, and that you guys are so, it's really like, runners do the same, kind of measure everything while they run to see that they are on the level they need. And I think also like show jumping and dressage actually has a lot to learn. We don't do that. In Norway, we do a lot of hacking. Yeah, we would normally, I would never go 3 times in the arena after each other. So I go hacking on Monday. Maybe I have a dressage lesson on Tuesday. I do jumping on Wednesday, hacking again.
Yeah, but that's like this, that would happen a lot for us in November, December.
But you have that kind of in your, but in Holland, hacking is not so available always. Yeah. So some people don't go hacking.
Like going on different surfaces is the best to do to keep horses sound. Yeah. In Rome, where I live now, it's actually the best. Like we go uphill or downhill, and then back up to the arena every time. It's a bit uneven, like we have a bit of stones and all of that. We can then go hacking and trot on some sort of grass or on like some of these work roads, which you don't want to go fast or for a long time, but there's nothing better to get the horses tough and like school the legs. Yeah. And if you're then lucky and you have hilly hacking, that's half the basic endurance done for the season. And that would be, like I would say the young horses I have, since they don't necessarily go galloping if they're 5 or 6, but they would go hacking a lot. Where I'm based in summer, I do have hilly hacking. So the girls take them out and they gallop up this field and they trot here and they go there. And they just really learn to look after their feet. They get a bit fit. They see things. I think the more you vary things, the better for the body.
Yeah. Our horses are athletes. And in every elite sport, recovery is considered just as important as training. Because athletes actually don't improve during the exercise, they improve when the body recovers. Yet many of us only start focusing on recovery when something goes wrong. A strain or a setback, an injury, maybe a wound that takes longer to heal than we hoped for. The horse is just simply not bouncing back as quickly as we would like. That's one of the reasons I became super interested in Equine LTS. Red and near-infrared light therapy has been widely researched in human medicine and sport for its role in tissue repair, wound healing, circulation, as well as muscle recovery. Equine LTS brings that same technology to our horses, whether it's after a hard training session, a competition weekend, long journeys, maybe during a rehabilitation, or simply a part of our everyday management. It's a great tool to help support that recovery and keep our horses feeling their best. Because if we expect our horses to perform like athletes, they deserve to recover like athletes too. So to learn more, visit the Stable Hour website or head directly to equinelts.com. Use our discount code TheStableHour to receive 10% off on selected products, including their 2-for-1 packages and selected Red and 3.0 products. And now, let's head back to the episode. Olympic moment. It was in Tokyo 2021. Olympic gold. And of course, from the outside, that is like the peak moment, the ultimate moment, the goal. Do you remember what it felt like in the moment?
Yeah, it was a bit like, I went into, we had 2 show jumping rounds. I was in the lead after the team jumping, and then there were some hours break, and then we jumped quite late at night again. And
you did 2 rounds on the same day, but just with
after each other, basically.
Yeah, but with a big break in between.
what was it, 3-4 hours?
Yeah.
Like I had dinner in between, so it was some time. And the first round would be like quite long, and the second is shorter. Maybe it was like 9 jumps, not that much, but it was high enough. It's I mean, I find it's quite for a show jump, it's maybe not that big, but it's quite some jumping for the eventers on the last day. Anyway, my mare, she felt really good in the first round, and I was like, oh, well, she's really jumping good today. And then I was like, okay, now you're in the lead. What if you become Olympic champion? I said, okay, no, you don't think that, because that's going to jinx it.
No.
So I looked at the run, said, like, Pietro was there. He's my boyfriend, and he was there with me, thankfully, because of COVID, no one else could really come.
No.
So that's why you could bring someone who, I mean, Olympics, usually it's very difficult to get people in.
Yeah.
And usually it's me and the groom, and then if the horse owner wants to go, then it's the horse owner.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the boyfriend.
No.
So, but he was there and said, let's go and have dinner. Are you not nervous? I said, no, actually, I have a good feeling about this. Like, she jumped so good. I think she's fine. And then I thought, if I have a pole and she never had more than one pole, then I still have bronze. I mean, that would be cool either. So that's was a bit how I thought it. And I thought, that's about what I think about it now. Then I went, like, I did the warm-up and I went in, and she jumped so good. And I thought, okay, keep it together. And then we were clear. And then my first thought was, what am I going to do with this now? Because in Tokyo, I won Team Silver.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a controversial thing in total, but the media afterwards was a lot already. Just for the fact that, I mean, Olympics are so much more than other championships, because everybody knows what Olympics mean. Yeah. And I knew the moment I had won the medal, I knew, okay, this is going to be intense now, because you win the medal, and as long as you're still on the horse, you're for yourself, but then afterwards you're not anymore. No. Then everything is happening, but you don't have a quiet minute. And so I knew that, and then I was very sort of relieved and proud of, like, myself, my horse, and somehow this feeling of I got it done. I didn't mess it up this time. You know, everything worked out, which was very satisfying in some sense. And then it was a very, very intense winter before. Yeah. Like, my first dog died, which everyone who has dogs knows it was really tragic. And I was really sad for like month until I actually got a new dog, because someone said, you're taking this dog now. It has to go forward with you.
You need to move on with your life.
Really. Yeah. Then my father died because he had a rare form of dementia. And then the first 5-star horse I had to have eye removed because he had a very bad, like, whole body inflammation.
How many months are we speaking here ahead of the championship now? That all of this.
That was happening between like December 20 and March 21.
Jesus.
And so, like, in the month before, it wasn't like in March 21, I didn't think I need to go to the Olympics, because my actual Olympic horse, like the one I thought would go there, was just retired from sport. And Mandy, the mare, she was like coming up, but she wasn't even qualified yet. And then we had the herpes outbreak, and the first shows were cancelled. So I was like, well, okay, I don't know. And that was just like, as then always, okay, let's just see to get her qualified. And because later that year we were supposed to have the Europeans, because in 21 would usually be Europeans. So I thought, let's qualify for the Europeans, and that would be good. And then whenever bad things happen, I'm very quick in doing something to move on. Like, I mean, not necessarily move on in a like that I don't want to think about it at all, but I need something to do. So when all these bad things happened, I would always go into the stable, ride my horses, and then I would think about what's the plan for this horse, or where could that horse go, and that, you know, gives you some sense in the day. So actually planning how to get Mandy to the qualifier, which was in Saumur in France, and then I had one show before, and I built my cross country jumps at home to get her ready. There was something. It was also a bit like therapeutical, maybe. Just do something, do your project.
Yeah.
And she went there and she won, and she won like cool. I was like, okay. I always knew she was good, but in the years before, we sort of like we missed the piece of the puzzle still. And in 2021, she came out and was like, wow, okay, that could be really, really cool. But I was still not thinking about Tokyo because it wasn't my initial idea. Like the idea was actually the Europeans.
Yeah.
Then we went to the national championships, and I think she had a pole and was third, but still did good. And then they nominated me for Tokyo, and I was like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like, and I had with her always the feeling like she's a bit superior. Like she reads the situation, she knows when it's important. And in Tokyo and also the year after in Paulina at the World Championships, I sort of felt she wouldn't have a pole. Like as if she knew that's the days to jump clear. She would sometimes have a pole, usually from kicking out rather from not being careful. But like it just felt, okay, not on these days.
No.
I've got it, just hold on.
Yeah.
And obviously, this whole path gave me something to, keep going, but it wasn't, the forefront of my mind was not, can I win an Olympic medal or anything? And then it was still COVID, and everything changed all the time. So I just kept going and doing my thing. And obviously, during all this time, there are many people who keep you on the road and who support you and who, do things when you're maybe just not able to do them, or pick you up when you've just been down really. And then with my father, who was always a very, very big supporter of me, and like he filmed all championships when I did the ponies and juniors and young riders, and he was always like, I have a whole collection of DVDs which he like made, and it sort of felt like this moment in Tokyo that it completed the circle somehow, from Rio being very controversial, many downs afterwards, this difficult winter. It somehow I could give back to the people who kept believing in me and kept pushing me. And also with Mandy, I then had the horse who'd say, okay, I get you through these stupid championship without an issue. And it was and then I actually even liked that there were no spectators and nothing. No. Like it was just us.
No,
and
because
the
this
horses.
was during COVID, right? So
and there was no trara around it. It was just between me and my horse, and then our team at a celebration afterwards. But no big party, no big press. But it was fine for me because it was really for me somehow, for me in the small circle. And then once you go back home, it's bigger, but still due to COVID, it wasn't as big. But it felt right for me. Yeah. Like I was totally fine with that because it was like a very personal thing. Yeah. While then Paris, I didn't win anything, but the whole Olympics was way bigger. It was like the spectators, the scenery, the atmosphere was super cool, and I really enjoyed it. I was able to enjoy it. Maybe, third time Olympics, you're able to enjoy more. But also I didn't jump for gold on the last day, so you have more time to look around and say, okay, this is cool.
Enjoy the journey, right, and the ride.
But it was, if I'm being asked, do you regret that you didn't have spectators in Tokyo? So, but for me, not at all. Like it was also the week we spent there before we started. I read books and I went grazing with my horse and I worked out a bit, and I was very happy with that.
That's so nice. It's almost like a little bit more down to earth in a way of like how it naturally is when we're working with our horses, right? Yeah. It's just you and the horse.
Absolutely.
And how was the Monday after? Monday morning? You wake
it was
up.
Tuesday morning because we jumped on the Monday.
Okay. Tuesday morning.
Quite unreal. Like it was like, okay, did I really just become Olympic champion?
Yeah.
It's a controversial feeling. I like on the one hand you're very proud. I was very proud. I am very proud, and then you somehow expect the world to change. Yeah. But it doesn't really.
No, because that's my next question. Do you feel like you have reached a destination? Like, oh, I'm here. my life is changing now.
I mean, obviously, some things do change, like how people perceive you. You obviously, at least in eventing, everybody knows you. You're more of a role model, which is, I mean, nice, but then you have to get used to, like, I'm going to a pre-novice with a 5-year-old for the first time, and he's not winning because he's on the show maybe for the first time. And then, the headline in the newspaper is like, XY beat the Olympic champion. I'm like, okay, but it's fine. You get used to it. And it's no big deal, but it's, the
Part of the game.
It's part of the game. And of course you get a bit more opportunities or a bit easier opportunities, but I still have to work for it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I get horses offered, but I still have to ride them and make them better. And maybe I can have a cooperation more easy, but I still have to like produce something.
Have it been added pressure on yourself with actually having the title and now going forward and riding, getting these new horses, that is like added pressure, like, okay, I need to deliver? Or
maybe in the first year I felt a little bit pressure, but then I have a very good owner of mine said earlier on, said, Julia, just so you know, like, I and most other people with some sense, they don't have the expectation that you win all the time now, or that you ever win an Olympics again. Don't put that pressure on you. Every horse, every championship, actually every show is its own story.
Yeah.
And put that, like, not to rest, but take this experience as something that's sort of a closed chapter, and cherish it for that. And don't think you have to pile up on that all the time.
No.
And that's very much what I think did, and what I'm completely fine with. Like, I would love to win the Olympics again, but I don't think the chances are more or less likely than before. And I'm not crazy running after it. I think I'm like, my drive is pretty much the same as before.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I feel a little bit more calm since, because I made it happen. Like, I know I can, and I'm most proud of the fact that I got everything together in that week. I got the horse there. It wasn't the easiest horse. We went there. Everything went fine. And we just managed to win an Olympic gold, which is quite a project to go, right? Though then some people say these moments make everything worth it. And there I disagree.
Okay.
Because if you would ask me, would you swap the gold medal for my father or the health of the other horse or the dog, I would say straight away yes. I mean, in the end, who needs a gold medal? It's nice for me, but it's not the ultimate prize for me. Of course, success somehow, of course, like, for all the work you put in, you get a reward. But success doesn't justify every suffer, or it doesn't make the bad things less bad.
No.
It shows me that pushing through the bad times might get you some plus at the end.
Yeah. What would the best
reward.
advice be then for people that, maybe never achieve these successes that kind of weighs off for all the suffering?
I think, first of all, you have to define success. If your only definition of success is Olympic gold, chances are low you will achieve that. And then I think, but like, if you look at yourself, your horse, whatever you're doing, like, honestly, and you think, okay, that's my setup, that's where I am, and this is something that would be a success, like, good, realistic one. And that's what I have to do for it. And then, like, I think stay honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Why did it not work? Why did it go wrong? Of course, I mean, then you have to say, okay, like a failure in sport or a personal drama is, I mean, you can't, one might be something you can do something about, the other you can't. Then it's just, how do I handle myself afterwards?
Yeah. I think in terms of, to make it a little bit insight into your system and management, 3 go-tos that is like non-negotiable when it comes to your horses or your management or something in the stable, that for every horse you bring in or every student, these are 3 non-negotiables.
Well, the first would be respect. And with respect, I mean respect for the horse, of course, but also I require the horses to respect us because we have 12, 14 horses and they need to be good to handle. For students, the respect of my employees and also me. Like if everyone handles everyone with respect, I think that's the first step to go. Then structure. Like I have very structured plans, like every evening. And I think maybe per year, there are like 5 days where I didn't make the plan in the evening. For the next day, which horse goes out when, what are they doing, right times, extra feed, whatever. First of all, for the girls in the stable to know, but also they put it in a book. It can be reread. Like I have stable books for the last 10 years, probably, where you could say 15th of July, 2016, what did Samurai du do? And you could look it up.
Oh, wow.
And the third, give the horse turnout. Like I've built paddocks for about 40,000 euros last winter because in Rome we have clay, which gets very sticky. Yeah. And it's a nightmare for the grooms, but it's also not really enjoyable for the horses. And I've got very detailed plans as to when the horses go out, back in, and how do I manage with the hay. And then we bought like hay boxes so they could have hay outside and balls to play with. So it's like a playground.
So you're just to specify for people listening, you have turning out all your horses into fields and paddock. Also, Olympian gold,
all
winner.
But as much as possible, some horses who eat a bit too much grass, they rather go on the paddock for some more hours. But the fields they can also move and gallop and buck. And I think it's really, really important. And there's nothing better after a show than to put them on like a sort of cool grass field in the morning to have their legs cooled and move around a bit. It's you can't have them cool down.
No, it's also a part of navigating them as an athlete is also ensuring that they are a horse, but also for their bodies, it's actually very healthy to be out and move freely and walk around.
Yeah, and I find if they like roam around about a field with their neck down, head down, it's really good for the back.
Yeah.
And it's I'm very mental about it. If I could, I would even have them out longer, but then often space is the limiting factor, but or flies or
navigate weather,
not that easy, but
like
it's very important to me.
Do you feel like there is anything that we are doing that people are focusing too much in their system of management that is like, okay, or yourself maybe, is there a certain aspect that we're like, okay, shouldn't be the top of our priority list?
I think I like everything to be proper and clean. But I think the horse doesn't care too much if your tail is clean on a daily basis or if the mane is cut perfectly. Then about brushing, I have to say it's part of like horse care. Yeah. And I'm also very specific about clean tack. Yeah. I think generally I would say keep a balance with everything. Yeah. Like if you only clean your tack and don't ride anymore, it's not going to work. No. If you only ride and don't brush your horse, it's not going to work. No. If you spend more money on the physio than on riding lessons, it's not going to work. But if you don't care about a fitting saddle or physio and never see the vet, it's also not going to work. No. So everything is about having the right balance. I have some vet crazy students. Like, if they could, they would have their horses stabled at the vet. Which, yes, it's not wrong, but you can also overcheck or overtreat or overdo things with horses. Like, for example, checking the stomach every half year is not a nice experience. No. I mean, do it once in winter. Most likely the vet will say your horse has some sort of ulcers. Yeah. Like most of our horses do. Most horses have, by now I'm like, if I have a suspicion, I just treat them without checking because it doesn't do them any harm. No. And it's usually the outcome anyway. But the process of checking is I once had a horse that didn't empty the stomach for 3 days. So that poor mare didn't get feed for 3 days.
No.
If you didn't have problems before, you'll sure have after.
Yeah.
So in the idea of doing something good, sometimes you also overdo it a bit. And then I would say the more a horse can sort of stay a horse, the more likely it's going to stay sound. Though I also know like doing an intense sport obviously puts a strain on the horse.
Yeah.
But I would say in my stable, there's a clear difference between a 4, 5, 6, probably even 7 years old who they have their regular physio, say a 4 years old once, a 5 years old maybe twice a year. If there's nothing, I think has to be checked, but like just to get the body into the right direction. And then they sort of grow into like more athlete treatment.
Yeah.
But if I have to like treat my 6 years old every 3 months, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Either with me, like with my system, or what I want from the horse, or maybe the horse is not suited to what I'm doing with the horse. And so the longer they can just go as they are, the better. Yeah. But I feel some people, they're happy if they can inject a horse. Yeah. Like, we injected this and this and this and this. I'm like, it's not like necessarily good.
No.
It should be something you do when you feel there's a problem, not something you do just because it's Monday.
Yeah, we should try to prevent it and ensure that the horses have everything they need so we don't have to treat every...
Yeah. So that's, I think if you try to keep a balance between everything you have to put in, then you're on a good track.
Yeah. You have been, of course, a national team coach. So when you look at the younger riders today, younger than us, I feel like we are young, but you know, are you hopeful for the future?
We are very honest on here.
Yeah, be honest.
I'm sure we will have enough social media representation of whatever happens or doesn't happen. I mean, there's obviously talent. We have probably by now more riders from horsey families, or predominantly riders from horsey families coming up, because it's becoming more and more difficult for non-horsey background people to make their way up, because it's more difficult to get into riding the first place, because it's more expensive, because I mean there are different reasons. I think costs now compared to when I started doubled, if not tripled. So it's a lot more horse family business, which is nice on the one hand. But when I was national coach, I also really loved the young people from non-horsey families, because they were often way more open. If you come from a horse family, there are certain ways you do things because you've always done them like that. And your mother knows this and your father knows that, and your uncle is the trainer of God knows who, and also your grandfather was whatever champion. And it's sometimes difficult to get them into maybe a new direction, or think a bit different, or try a different approach, while someone who's not from a horse background, they don't know. They just, if you're lucky, they trust in you, and you can like form that rider way more, which as a coach is sometimes more rewarding. Doesn't mean that professional families do everything wrong, but I think everyone knows that like everyone has a bit their ways. And if I would have a child going into juniors, young riders, I could imagine the national coach like, definitely was her idea. Maybe we could try something different. I would be, no, been doing it like this for 20 years. We're not doing it different, you know, which is natural, but it's sometimes nice for, you know, some outside perspective coming in. I think there's talent and there will always be good riders. Right now I'm seeing many good young riders, for my feeling, investing more time and potentially money into their social media account than into their own riding. And at some point you have to decide a little bit, do I want to be a top athlete, and how much energy, time, money do I put into developing that? Or do I want to mainly sell myself? Even I sometimes find myself thinking of, when there's a bit difficult topic or whatever, I sold a horse or show didn't go well, how do I write that on Instagram? How do I explain that? Which is completely different to 15 years ago, where maybe you thought, how do I explain that to my coach?
Yeah.
But you maybe spend more time reflecting yourself and not thinking, how do I present that to the public? Even, I mean, I always say, if you say A, you have to say B. So if you start selling yourself and presenting yourself and taking people along, you also have to take them through the bad times or difficult times. But it's another big factor of pressure added.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make it easier, I think, for people to grow up in the sport. And maybe also not to become, first of all, a good rider and a good horse person, because to be a good rider, a good horse person, you don't even need to have Instagram.
No, exactly.
Or whatever, TikTok. I don't even have TikTok. I said I'm not going down that road. So I really wish that, despite trying to be transparent and, showing the world whatever, the focus on the horse and the riding stays the most important.
Yeah.
Because only because you tell your followers you love your horse, I mean, doesn't mean you necessarily do.
Exactly.
I mean, people tell they love their partner and then they beat them. So you can say a lot, but in the end it counts what you do. And I think it's these days it overlaps quickly, to sort of have two different lives.
Two different lives, yeah. Definitely. Before we wrap up, Julia,
there's so much to talk about.
I know we should actually have like 1.5 hours more, right? I know that you have a book coming up.
Yeah.
Is that next on the radar? What is happening the next few months now?
So first, the book. I mean, it was like 2 or 3 years ago. I thought it would be cool to have this last 35 years of my life, basically, wrapped up. So much happened. It was like, somehow I wanted to go through that again, put it down, explain a few things people maybe didn't know or only saw from the outside or only the result.
So it's coming out in German first, and
German first, and then we need to translate it.
Julia, as the last question that we ask everyone, who would you like to kind of see in the seat for us to learn from, or yourself to kind of listen into the Stable Hour? Is there anyone?
I would love Pippa Funnel. She's been a role model of mine for many years. She's very relatable. She's very fun, very honest. Has a lot to say also about the mental part of being a top athlete. Yeah. And just a very nice person, and has been a mentor and like person of guidance for many riders. And I mean, she's married to a show jumper. Yeah. So she also knows different aspects.
Definitely. And she's like one of the greatest of all time in eventing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
She also has her own podcast.
Which is very funny, I think. I don't listen to that many podcasts, but I also always see their clips on it.
Yeah. I also.
And I think it's she's quite fun.
Yeah, fantastic. Great. I hope we can get her on and get her to Copenhagen one day. Julia, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For joining me, for coming to Copenhagen from Rome. I hope it has been some really inspiration and also something that you can bring along for your own sport and your own journey with your horses. Thank you so much for tuning in, and this is the Stable Hour. This episode is sponsored by Equine LTS.